Hi, I'm Rainey Townsend. This is my video assignment for Introduction to Psychology. I'm taking this class at De Anza College, and I just wanted to go over a few of the things that we've learned over the course of the semester. One thing that I thought was very interesting were the different psychosocial and psychosexual stages that everybody goes through. So when I say psychosexual, it doesn't necessarily mean arousal or something that most people would think as sexual. For the psychosexual stages, it was founded by Sigmund Freud. The different stages are oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. The first stage is called oral, which means that we explore the world through our mouth. So when we're really young, we tend to put things in our mouth to explore, see what's edible, what's gross, that type of stuff. And that is from ages 0 to 1. The second stage in Freud's development is called anal. So this is 2 to 4 years old, and this is when potty training occurred. Stage 1 was more of exploration. Stage 2 is more experimentation, as far as having certain things that you feel translate into when you should go to the bathroom. So this is more of getting control over your muscle movement. As for the third stage, which is the phallic stage, it's exploring the world. It's ages 3 to 6. It is seeing how the opposite sex acts and how they interact with each other, type of thing. So boys tend to observe their mothers or older women, and girls tend to look and see what men are doing, and it's more of how they should be treated in the future. And then the next stage, which is the fourth stage, is called the latency stage, and it's from 6 years old to puberty, and it's going to be more of children interacting with the same sex, and it's kind of a development of how they should be acting and how they shouldn't be. As for the last stage, it's called the genital stage. This is the largest portion of our life, so it's basically anything after puberty. The idea behind it is more of this is our reproductive stage, so we are trying to find a match and a partner so we can reproduce and start getting the next generation going and teaching them how they should be acting. So the cycle just continues over and over, but those are the 5 stages of Sigmund Freud. The other 2 philosophies that we're going to be looking at as far as development are going to be psychosocial. So we're going to be looking at Erickson's psychosocial analysis, which is 8 steps, and we're going to be looking at Piaget's analysis of psychosocial development, and those are only 4 steps. So Erickson is more on your internal debates. So every stage has it's a this or a this. So I'm going to break down Erickson's theory into age, the conflict. There's always one thing versus another. The virtue that you can develop is the next section, and the section after that is going to be the result in old age. So how does that affect you later on? And I like to think of this as more of a butterfly effect. So the smallest things can affect you a lot when you're younger, and it'll change you and shape you into the person that you are when you're older. So for the first stage in Erickson's theory, it's going to be infancy. So this is 0 to 1 years old. So the conflict is going to be mistrust versus trust. Who can we trust? And it kind of shapes our view of the world and how we're going to interact with people, whether we're, trusting. So the virtue is going to be seen as hope. So that means that in old age, you're going to have an appreciation of interdependence. So relying on people and them having your back, you having their back, and how you relate to one another. So the second stage in the 8-stage program is early childhood, 1 to 3 years. This is autonomy versus shame. And this is the power of will, and it's kind of related to motivation, I would say. So the result in old age is going to be more of an acceptance of the life cycle. So it's kind of where you fit in, so integration versus disintegration. The next stage is the play age, so 3 to 6 years. The conflict in that is being initiative versus guilt. And the resolution in this is purpose. And in old age, you're going to end up being funny, you're going to have empathy, feeling for other people, and resilience. The next stage is going to be school age, so it is 6 to 12 years, and it is industry versus inferiority, and the overall value that we're going to get out of this is competence. So in old age, we're going to have humility and accept where we are in life, and this also deals with your dreams in life. Next stage is adolescence, so this is identity versus confusion. So basically this is when the brain will question and ask, like, where do I fit in life? What type of life do I want to have? Like, basically building yourself as a person. Next stage is 20 to 25 years old. This is early adulthood, and this is where the person is going to develop love. So this is intimacy versus isolation would be the conflict. So this is more complex than most people think. It is how we relate to other people and how we're going to be connected to them for the rest of our lives. This also goes along with our self-worth and self-respect. And at this time in our life, it's very important to make sure that we make the right connections and we're developing respect. So the next stage is adulthood. It is 26 to 64 years, so most of our life. And the conflict in this is going to be generativity versus stagnation. So this is existential identity. It's where we're going to look back on our life and we're going to say, was it worth it? Did we accomplish our goals? Were there higher aspirations that we could have achieved? Basically, was it all worthwhile? Did we live life correctly in our accordance? I believe that this is very important because you can look back and you can even talk to generations that are coming up and you can say, I wish I would have done this. I think that this would have made my life just perfect, or, I definitely think that there were places that I could have escaped or could have done a little bit better. So I think this is really important, not only to yourself and your own psychology, but that's why it's psychosocial, because it's how you deal with others. And while other people might be going through certain stages, you're going through another. And it's very important to interact, and certain stages will make you interact where you're looking out for each other. For Piaget's stages of cognitive development, there are only 4 stages. So the first stage is ages 0 to 2, so birth to 2 years old. And this is the development of your sensory motor, so how your hands work and how you interact with certain objects. This is also recognition of certain things, basically the things as they're called because of this time in your life. That's a plant, that's grass, that's a rock, this is object permanence. So this is also exploration using the senses, so you're figuring out you hear stuff, what is that? You taste stuff, you smell stuff, you see stuff, and you feel it. So as far as the senses go, it is an exploratory stage in your life. The next stage is going to be 2 to 7 years old, and this is your pre-operational stage. So this is thinking about things symbolically. So before, you would say, oh, that's a flower, right? Now in this stage, you're going to say, what do flowers represent? This type of flower, say you have a rose. A rose represents love, and so you're starting to make those connections within your head instead of saying, oh, that's just this simple object. You're going to be more into, oh, that makes me feel happy, that makes me feel sad, depending on the object. This is also for egocentric thinking, so you're trying to figure out who you are. So when we're talking about egocentric views, it's not selfishness necessarily, but when you're developing your mind, it's more of a self-awareness, and because you're so focused on developing where you are as a person. So for example, say you're playing hide and seek with a young child, maybe a kindergartner, preschooler even, and you say, okay, go hide, I'll look for you. They hide and half their body's sticking out, but they can't directly see you. They haven't fully developed their egocentric thinking. So in their mind, they're thinking about what they can see, and they're thinking that they're hiding, but not super effectively, right? So basically, this is their own opinions of what happens, and eventually, if you play hide and seek enough, you realize, oh, my arm's sticking out from behind the tree, whatever the case is. So this is more of a focus on yourself, what you need, and basically how others interpret you. So the third stage in Piaget's theory is going to be 7 to 11 years, which is concrete operational. This is where we learn how the world works and basically how our bodies work. So if you're an athlete, this is where training comes in, and it's where you can visualize yourself. So you're basically thinking through what previously would be simple one-by-one actions that you'd put all together. So this stage is the putting it all together. So it's also logical thought. So things start to make sense instead of just being random. The next stage is going to be 12 years through adulthood. They're going to be working on formal operation, which is abstract thinking and ability to question things. I think that these stages are really interesting to look over because personally, I believe that there aren't technically stages in life, but I like to believe that life is more of a smooth transition through these things. So you might be focused on one thing more than another when you're younger, and I think the bases of these theories are definitely true. I think that the one that I would probably stick by the most would be Sigmund Freud's. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Rainey Townsend. Spread the positivity and have a great day.